When I first started living full-time on cruise ships, I made it my mission to keep my monthly budget at $2,000, and for a long time, I nailed it. Cruises, hotels, food, everything stayed pretty steady. Some months were a little tighter than others, but overall, cruise life was still cheaper than living on land, for me at least. Then, inflation started creeping in. So earlier this year, I bumped that budget up to $2,500, and last month I actually stayed right on target. But this month, something completely different happened. I tracked every expense like I always do, but when I added it all up, I had to double check that math twice because somehow my cruise expenses didn't just go over 2,500. Oh my goodness, no. They were almost $4,000. So what on earth happened? Let's break it down. And if you stick around until the end, I'll show you how I can afford to live full-time on cruise ships. Hey y'all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I'm Linnell. I sold everything and now I live on cruise ships full-time. If this video is a blessing to you, I want to encourage you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on notifications. Hit the bell for all notifications so that you never ever miss another video. And follow me on my journey from poverty to paradise. If you saw last month's video, then you know that I had 39 cruises already booked. If you didn't see that video, I'll leave a link to it in the video description. Since that time, I canceled 3 ships because I had got better offers, and I added 7 more ships. And yes, I do have some notes here, so I am reading. So if it looks like I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at the slides that I'm sharing with you. So since that time, I've canceled 3 ships because I got better offers, and I added 7 more ships. Some of those ships that I added on, I'm on them for up to 4. Is it 4 or 5? I know at least 4 back-to-back cruises on the same ships. So now I'm booked on 50 cruises for year 2. 15 of those are here on Carnival Firenze, and I'm on this ship through Thanksgiving. So now I'm fully booked up except for, well, for all of year 2, I'm fully booked up except for 2 weeks in July, which is the end of my second year full-time cruising. And so that's why you see on this slide that it says 17 pending days. So I do have those days still available, but I'm going to be coming off of a European cruise, and I'm pretty sure that I want to take a vacation from cruising like I did earlier this year in May, June. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to take a vacation from cruising, but I haven't yet decided that if I'm going to take another European cruise during those 17 days, or maybe stay somewhere in hotels in Europe, or maybe even head back over to Southeast Asia, because I absolutely loved Da Nang, Vietnam, where I went to. So I'm thinking about going back there, or maybe some other places in Southeast Asia. I'm not sure. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned and stick around to see what happens. So you can see here, I canceled cruises on Harmony of the Seas and Rhapsody of the Seas with Royal Caribbean, and I also canceled a cruise on Carnival Horizon. And on Royal Caribbean, I added Odyssey, Vision, Independence, Liberty, and Radiance. And I also added Carnival Pride and Enchanted Princess. I haven't done any kind of group cruises at all. I was thinking about planning one, and that's still in the thought process right now, but I've never personally done a group cruise. However, I do have 2 princess cruises, the 2 princess cruises that I showed. I'm booked on both of those out of Europe, and both of those are group cruises with Grounded Life. One is a YouTube After 40 group cruise. If you know anything about this channel, then you know I talk about that extensively, that I'm in that group. That's how I learned how to do YouTube. And also that I'm in the community there where I go in, I try to go in at least a few times a week and go in and either ask questions about my channel or help other people to grow their channel. But yeah, in that community, we are having a group cruise to Rome and Greece. And then I have another group cruise on the other princess ship with the Retirement Travel Jumpstart group. And that cruise is to Norway and Iceland. And if you want to join either of those cruises, you do need to be a part of the communities. I did put a link in the video description if you want to get more information about those. Last month's video, I ended with me sailing on Star of the Seas, which is now officially my favorite ship of all cruise ships. So if you're going to ask me what's my favorite cruise ship, I'm going to say Star of the Seas, which of course is the biggest and the brightest and has all the bells and whistles, right? So of course I fell in love with that ship. I was only on it for 7 days, so I'm going to have to go back one of these days. But right now it's not in the itinerary for the rest of this year, for the rest of this second year of cruising. But yeah, I was on there for 2 back-to-back cruises, a 3-day and a 4-day. And then I went over to Orlando to visit 2 of my grandkids, but they were sick. Afterwards, I headed over to Atlanta and hung out with my daughter and her family over there. And this photo here is with 2 of my 3 Georgia munchkins. We were over at the Atlanta Motor Speedway enjoying a family outing, and we had a ball. They were actually supposed to join me on this offer that I got from Royal Caribbean, where they gave me 2 free cabins and we only had to pay port fees and taxes. And they had a special where kids sail free with the adults. So there were going to be 5, my daughter, her husband, and 3 kids, and then me and my son in 1 cabin. So all 7 of us were going to be going and just paying the port fees and taxes. But unfortunately, my daughter had some last minute issues that came up. So instead, my son took one of the cabins and I took the other cabin. My son and I flew in a day before, and we stayed here at this Holiday Inn Express over in Tampa, and I paid with my IHG points. I paid a half a cent each for these points. So out of pocket, the value of it was $170. I had stayed here at this hotel before, and it was about $120 a night, but there must have been something happening in Tampa, because all of a sudden, when I was trying to book this hotel, all the hotels were way more expensive than normal. This $170 was still less than the cash price. And some of the other competing hotels, which they were over $200 a night. And that was before the taxes and any other fees that they added on. So I just decided to go ahead and pay with the points, because it was still going to be a better deal for me, even though it was way much higher than what I normally pay. So here's a receipt for the first cruise that I took in September, and it was a 7-day cruise, and it was $158.73. Initially for the interior cabin. So what had happened was when I first booked the offer, I had the option to keep it at $159 for the 1 cabin that me and my son was going to be in. But I had booked that for me and my son, and we wanted to be next door to my daughter's cabin. So since she had to have a cabin that could fit 5 people in it, there was a different rate to move me and my son over, because normally when they're booking cabins, they want to try and fill up the ship as much as possible. So if it's only 1 or 2 people, they're going to put you in a cabin where only 1 or 2 people can fit, and they're going to leave the cabins that fit 3, 4, 5 people. They're going to leave those open, so of course they can fill those rooms up. So if I wanted to move me and my son out of that cabin over to right next door to my daughter, which is what I did, we had to pay an upgrade fee of $61. But it was only $61, so that's why you see on the receipt here that there's an upgrade fee of $61. So the total for that cabin was $219.73. Once we left that cruise, I booked the Kimpton Shane Hotel over in downtown Atlanta, so I could get up early and be within walking distance to the Amtrak train station. I stayed there for just 1 night, and even though it was higher than my normal hotel rates were, what I normally pay for my hotel, which is about $100 a night, it was well worth it. It was an extremely nice hotel. For one, the main reason why I picked that hotel when I was looking for it in the beginning was I was trying to find an IHG hotel that was closest to the Amtrak station. So this one had the best proximity. So I saved money because it was so close that I was able to walk to Amtrak station the next morning, so I didn't have to pay for an Uber or public transportation. Also, I was glad I did, because once I got to this hotel, I realized that this was an upscale hotel. The area that it was in was a really nice area, and the rooms were probably worth, at minimum, I would say $300 a night. So I still got this one for a steal, even though it was above my budget. I did make a video showing the hotel in the lobby and even my walk from the hotel to the Amtrak station, but since it's not about Poverty to Paradise or cruise related. I didn't put that video here on the main channel. That video is over on the membership page, as well as a review of most of the hotels that I've been doing recently. So if you are interested in hotel reviews and what hotels I've been staying in to see, what they look like, how much they cost, all that good stuff, you can join the membership. And if you want to see more details, just head over there. There should be right next to the channel name, there should be a button that says join. So if you click that join button, you'll be able to see how much it is and what you get when you join it. It's just something to support the channel. And I use those funds for training to help me get even better at YouTube. So I try and put in a little extra in there for those people who want to support the channel. So if you are that person, if you are one of those people, then please, by all means, go ahead and join and get some extra content over there. So the next stop was the Amtrak train. I took one leg from Atlanta to New Orleans in coach, and that cost me $53. Once I got to New Orleans, I took an Uber over to this hotel, and it was at the hotel rate that I'm used to, which is under $100. And this one was $94 plus taxes, so it was a total of $120. The next morning I had breakfast. Most of the, if not all, is it all? No, not all of them, because the Shane did, but I got up too late. Anyway, that's another story. But most of the hotels that I stay in, most of the hotels I stay in are IHG, and most of the IHG hotels will have breakfast included. So, yep, the next morning I had breakfast at this hotel, and I took the trolley and went back to the Amtrak train station. I found out later that a lot of people who were on that first leg of the train with me from Atlanta to New Orleans, and then they were going from New Orleans to other places, whether it was Houston, San Antonio, California, wherever they were stopping, even some places in Louisiana. A lot of people stayed overnight in the train station. I thought about it, but when I first got off, I didn't ask any questions or anything like that. I kind of just surveyed the area, and I was like, nah, this is kind of small. It doesn't look like I'll be comfortable the way they had the chairs and stuff. Because sometimes I'll do that at the airport, because, there's security at the airport, and you can only get inside the airport if you've already booked the ticket, they've already seen your ID, your passport, whatever. So I feel pretty safe inside the airport, but I wasn't really sure about the Amtrak station, so I was like, nah, I'm going to get a hotel. But then when I got back, there were a lot of people who had made pallets on the floor, and a couple of people were telling me, oh yeah, we stayed here, we do this all the time, and after a certain time, I forgot what time they said, it was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, they lock the doors, and there's a security person, at least one, sometimes two security personnel there. There's bathrooms there, and you can't get in or out of the train station during those evening hours or late morning hours unless and until the security guard opens the door. So they felt pretty safe and everything. So just something to keep in mind if I ever do go back, or if you decide to take a train station and you're overnight in New Orleans. Something to consider. Not saying for sure that I would do that. It just depends on my mood and whether or not I needed a shower and a whole bunch of things like that. But yeah, so that's also an option. But no, I went to the hotel, had breakfast, next morning took the trolley, went back to the Amtrak train station, and took the train from New Orleans to Los Angeles. Before I booked the train, I had looked up all the flights to and hotels in Los Angeles, and being that it was going to be less expensive to take the train than to pay for a flight plus $200 to $300 a night for a hotel, I just decided to just go ahead and take the train. So I did book coach, and in coach it was $167 from New Orleans to Los Angeles, and plus I had a $135 credit from, if you have watched my videos before, then you know that I took the train when I got off Carnival Spirit. I took the train from Seattle to Los Angeles, and it was 12 hours delayed. So they did give everyone on that leg of, for whatever leg of the train it was, they gave everyone a full refund because of that delay. And so I had paid $135. So I did get a credit of that $135. And since I was saving money, and so many viewers who, when I talked about taking the Amtrak, they encouraged me to try a Romette. I was looking at them pricing, and I was like, nah, bro. I'm like, a roomette is like $500 a night. I'm like, who does that? Why do people pay that? And then, or maybe it wasn't the roomette, maybe it was the full room. I don't know. But it was like, it was way more than what the regular coach was. Obviously, it was going to be more, but it was like exponentially more. And it was even going to be more than if I just booked the flight plus paid $200 to $300 a night for a hotel over in Los Angeles. So I'm like, nah, I'm just going to go ahead and book coach. But I did win a bid. I put in a bid for $200 a night because that would probably be about what I would be paying for the hotel. Maybe more because it was Los Angeles, right? Plus the food was included too. So I said, okay, I'll go for, maybe, I don't know, 150, 200 at the most. I was going to try for 150. I said 200 at the most. I'm not paying more than $200 a night for the roomette. And lo and behold, I got it. So that was another $400. Winning that bid put me at $620 total for the 3-day train ride, minus the $135 credit for a total of $485. Later, you're going to see my chart where I list all of my expenses. And I was debating whether I should put it for transportation or for hotels because technically it was both. So I just split it 50-50. And then I was vacillating because I'm like, well, technically there's also your food because you would have had to buy, either food on the train, or if you stayed in a hotel, you would have had to buy groceries or go to a restaurant or whatever. And I was like, nah, I ain't worried about that percentage of how much was food. So basically when you see it on my expenses, you're going to see it broken up half and half, the $485, half transportation and half hotel. Once I got to Los Angeles, I took the metro train and then the city bus. I'm not afraid of taking public transportation. Listen, I'm on a budget. And as long as I feel like I can understand it, for one, like it's not too confusing, and also that I'm going to be safe, and it's not, I don't know what's the right word to say, rundown or whatever. I'm not going to hurt myself riding it, because sometimes you go to public transportation and it's like, do I really want to go on that? On that train? But LA is really good in with their trains, their buses, and even their, I want to say shuttle, but it's really still a bus. But anyway, yeah, and I had done this before in Los Angeles, so I was used to it, and I knew exactly how to get around. I feel like I'm a pro now, even though pro now. I feel like I am now a pro, even though I never lived in Los Angeles. But anywho, so yeah, I took the metro train, then the city bus over to Long Beach, and I stayed at the Holiday Inn Express in Hawaiian Gardens, and it was a very nice hotel. Yeah, I went ahead and made a video of that hotel, also a review, so you can see everything about that hotel, what it looks like, where it's located, all that good stuff. So that is also over on the membership page. If you are interested, check that out. When I was over there, my friends Dave and Nikki invited me to dinner, and their treat, so I didn't have to pay for dinner when I was over in Long Beach for that one night, and we enjoyed a very nice buffet. Oh my God, that food was so good over in Long Beach. I wish I would have got the name of the buffet so I can tell you about it, but I didn't. I was just so excited to hang out with them. Yeah, but that food was really good. We initially met virtually in the YouTube After 40 community, and we had been virtual friends for over a year, or at least almost a year. I feel like I know them forever. So it was really nice to finally break bread with them. I first learned how to use ChatGPT by watching Dave's channel, Smart Tech for Any Age, where he helps old folks like me understand tech in a very, very simple way. And now I use AI just about every day for a gazillion different things. So if you want to know how to use tech, but you are scared or intimidated like I was, please go over and check out Dave's channel, because he breaks everything down for us. He makes it so simple. And like I said, now I use ChatGPT every day, and that's no exaggeration, and for a lot of different things. I'll leave a link to his channel in the video description. The next morning I had breakfast at the hotel, and then I took the bus and metro train over to downtown Long Beach, and I walked over to the pier, and I boarded Carnival Firenze, which is where I am now. And here are some of the friends that I met here on Carnival Firenze. have 15 cruises on this ship, and 3 of them were in September. The first leg was a free cruise where I just paid the port fees and taxes. If you are new here and you're wondering why the total says $422.88, it's because Carnival charges $100 deposit for each person. And since I get charged double occupancy, I have to pay $200 deposit. But listen, I get that back where you see it says bonus onboard credit. Yeah, I get that $200 back. Once I get on the ship, that $200 is added to my account. I go to the casino, I charge the $200 to a slot machine, I cash it out, so that cash comes directly back to me. The only thing I was responsible for this cruise was the port fees and taxes, and that is not charged at double occupancy. I only pay the port fees and taxes for each person who sails, so in this case, it was just me. This second leg on Carnival Firenze for September 23rd was the exact same situation, exact same amount. But for the third leg, it was not a free cruise. It was a deeply discounted cruise. I paid $748. I got back $200 in onboard credit. So the total for the cruise was $548. If you are subscribed to the channel and you check out my upcoming videos, you're going to see some of the cruises on Firenze were free and some of them were deeply discounted, but a different amount than what you see here. So stay tuned for those. So putting it all together, I like to look at my housing expenses before I added all my other expenses, which I'm going to show you next. But you can see here that if you were living full-time on cruise ships, this is an example of how much you would spend. For this month, I did spend time with family in Georgia at the beginning, and then that 7-day cruise I took with my son. I didn't do a ship tour of Grandeur of the Seas. I did a video showing an excursion that we took where we swam in a couple of cenotes, which are underground rivers that are made by sinkholes over in Mexico, which was super fun. So check that video out if you are interested in seeing what that's all about. But yeah, we had a great time. I spent 21 days of the month on cruise ships, and then I spent 6 days in hotels and on the train. This here is a list of all my expenses living full-time on cruise ships, which came to way over my $2,500 budget. It was almost $4,000. Gasp. Some of the things that caused my expenses to go up really high were, number one, at a flight from Atlanta to Tampa. So I think the regular cost of this flight was like $330, something around there, $330, $350. But they had an offer to sit in first class for less than $100 more. So it came to $434. So I just decided to treat myself. Normally first class, I was like, ooh, I'll be looking at the first class tickets and they'd be like 2, 3, sometimes 4 times the price of a regular ticket. So it was only around $100 more, so I just decided, hey, I'm worth it. Let's do it. Plus, I was like, the convenience of first class, not just the seating, because you get bigger seating, you got some elbow room and stuff like that, but they treat you really good. But also, you get to be one of the first ones on and first ones off the ship. First one's on or off the plane. My son didn't fly in first class, though, and he was like, what? When I told him where I was going to be at. He is 6'7", so he always has to sit in the exit row because his legs are super long, obviously. So this is the funny part. So we boarded the plane, and I'm like, of course, I'm first class. So after they get all the elderly, handicapped veterans and people who got kids, after they get all them on, so I'm first. And I'm like, okay, I'll see you when you get on the plane. So I'm leaving him behind because I forgot which boarding group he in, 3, 4, one of those. So I get on the plane. They done put the door for the plane. Normally you enter in the front door. On this plane, actually on both flights, on the way there and on the way back, they opened the door. We went in through the middle door, which was right by the exit. So when I got on the plane, I had to make a left and go through all the seats just to get to the first class. And of course, when he got on later after me, he just went right to his seat because he was actually right there at the window seat. So he was the first seat was his. So of course, he was the first one off because when we got to Tampa and back to Atlanta, they used the same doors. So he was the first one off the ship. So I didn't get that perk as a part of my first class seat, but I just thought it was funny. I don't regret my decision to go in first class. I just thought it was funny. Anywho, another thing was that I had agreed to pay for the parking at the airport because my son drove his car from over in the suburb of Atlanta where he lives. We drove to the Atlanta airport, parked there in the airport, and then afterwards you'll see he dropped me off and he went back home. But while we were on the cruise, we left his car in the airport and I agreed to pay for the parking. And boy, was I in for a sticker shock. Oh my goodness. Remember, I don't own a car, so it's been a while since I parked at the Atlanta airport, but I don't remember parking being so expensive. For 8 days, it was $270. And when we pulled in, it said how much the daily rate was, but I think we were just so excited. We hadn't seen each other in a while. I wasn't doing the math in my head to see what the calculation was, but I won't make that mistake no more. 8 days was $270. In the future, we will definitely be doing that off-site parking or whatever they call it, where you park off-site is like half the price and then you take a shuttle in. I've done that one time before in St. Louis. But yeah, I usually don't do that. I usually just park at the airport, but it was not, the prices were not this ridiculous, or maybe I just don't remember. No, maybe I just never stayed this long. Maybe that's what it is. And then of course the train was $485, and if I would have flown and stayed in hotels, it would have been about the same for the flights and hotels. But yeah, that helped put me over because that was more than my average cruise budget. My cruises are normally around $50-$60 a day. So my monthly budget is $83 a day, and this put me way over. The flights, the hotels, except for the one in New Orleans, which was $100. That's about average of what I do. But yeah, everything was more expensive. So it was a mixture of just the hotels, I guess, and me with my perks. But yeah, everything else was pretty normal besides that. Now, what you don't see on here that I used to include in these expenses are non-cruise related expenses. And I'll tell you why I changed. I took those out because I kept getting comments over and over, or questions basically about my personal information that is really irrelevant to living full-time on cruise ships, or the difference will be very drastic based on your personal preferences. So like for instance, health insurance or health care, that's going to be different based on your age, your health, your pre-existing conditions, the state that you live in. Even if you have the same insurance company that I have, it could be totally different. Even if you live in Georgia, where I get my health insurance from, your health insurance is going to be way different from mine. So I just got tired of people asking me those types of questions, and frankly, they just aren't relevant to living full-time on cruise ship. Kind of like people ask also what my income is. I do share my YouTube income just to encourage people who are trying to get out of poverty into paradise to have, get that. I don't like the word hustle, but that's what we call it, a side hustle. But that side gig. So I do try and encourage people because my channel is monetized. So I don't mind sharing my YouTube, but you really don't need to know what my income is to live full-time on cruise ships or to get discounts on cruises. You just need to know, can you afford it, or how do you adjust your budget to be able to do this? So the expense portion is really what you need to know. And that's what I'm sharing, how much the discounts is for the cruises, the hotels, the travel in between, in case you have to do that kind of stuff. So if you are planning a lifestyle like this, it doesn't matter what my expenses are. You're going to need to calculate your own based on your current lifestyle and what's important to you, right? So because I got so many questions about those, I'm just going to leave those out and just know that you need to add those in. And before you go in the comments and you make a false statement, which I have in almost every video, every expense video, before you go in there and you make a comment like, yeah, but you need to include the price of your casino when you're going to casino every cruise, because you got to go in there and spend all that money to keep getting the free cruises. First of all, that ain't true. That's a false statement. And if you're not sure why that's not true, I'll leave a link to my very first video that I showed how I got a bunch of free cruises from Carnival and from Royal Caribbean based on one cruise each. Okay, so on Carnival, I didn't pay anything. Okay, I ended up leaving ahead, so technically I wasn't out of pocket anything. Royal, I did play. I showed in that video how much I played. I showed that I got 14 free cruises from that. So no, I didn't need to go in the casino. I don't need to go in the casino, and I don't go in the casino every cruise just to keep my deals up. Now, there have been a couple times with Royal where one time with Royal where my deals started going down, and one time with Royal where I strategically went and played for a certain cruise. And I do have videos on those situations, but that's totally different. And so no, I don't need to include that in my expenses. If I do go in the casino on these cruises now that I'm on, the ones that I've already gotten for free or deeply discounted, it's just like my other discretionary expenses, right? You don't have to go in the casino on a cruise ship. I like playing in the casino, so I may go in there with $100, $200, $300 and play. And I have done that, and thankfully one time it paid off really good. I'll put a link to my video where I won $20,000 here on Carnival Firenze. But no, I don't play in the casino on every cruise, and you don't even have to play in the casino and do casino cruise deals to get discounted cruises or to live full-time on cruise ships. And I made a video about that, which I will also link in the video description. Ooh, that video description gonna be long. So just to reiterate, do not come in my comments talking about that false information, because if you do, I'm just going to delete that comment because I don't want other people to be misled by that, okay? So that is why if you are a regular viewer, you'll see that I've changed the format, and that is why if you are a new viewer, then you will see, you'll understand why those expenses are not included in this video. Phew. All right, on to the summary slide. All right, so my summary slide here, let me make this bigger so I can analyze it with you. All right, so you can see top left corner, total monthly expenses. You can see what my cruises were, how much the hotels were, the food, and the transportation. Of course, the transportation looks way higher than normal. If you go over to that middle chart, my August versus September, the hotels went way up because, again, I normally don't pay that much for the hotels and for that roomette on the train. And again, the transportation, because the first class ticket for the flight, which that wasn't really that much, but also the train and all the other things that I had this month was way higher. The food pretty much stayed the same. The cruises, that don't look right. Let me go back and check. Hold on a sec. Oh my goodness. I went back and double checked. I did not notice that before. I'm in shock. The cruises for August were exactly the same amount as the cruises for September, $15.61. They're off by a few cents, but they were both $15.61. Huh. I'm shocked. I don't know why I didn't notice that before. I was looking at those other two big numbers, how the hotels and transportation jumped up so far. But wow, that's amazing. But anyway, yeah, $15.61. Overall, last month you see I stayed within budget. Of my $2,500 budget, my expenses were $2,200. This month, obviously, way over $3,700. So over $1,000, what is that? Almost $1,200 more than my budget. Thankfully, I am on this cruise ship all of October and most of November, so I won't have no hotels for October and not too many hotels for November, because when I get off this ship in November, I'll have 2 nights and then I get on another cruise ship. So hopefully I will be able to get that year-to-date monthly average down from $2,946 back down closer to $2,500 a month, because I got a budget. I'm trying to stay at $30,000 for the year. And just the cruises. So the cruise, hotels, food, transportation. Separately from my other discretionary expenses, YouTube expenses, health insurance, all that good stuff. So yeah, you can see my starburst in the middle, unfortunately, is red. I turn it green whenever I meet my budget. I turn it red when I go over my budget. And you can see that my travel goal budget is $83 per day, but I ended up spending $115 per day. Wah, wah, wah. So how do you afford living full-time on cruise ships? Before I was a content creator, I was living on my savings and investments, and I talk all about it in this video here. So you need to do your calculation to see, hey, can I start getting these same kind of discounts that Linnell is getting? Or can I go over to this other video and it shows me how to find cruises based on my budget and how much I can afford, and compare what my income is versus my expenses. Of course, I want to live below my means, so make sure that my income is much higher than what my expenses are going to be. And maybe this is something I can try out. Maybe you don't want to do it full time. I've heard some people say that they want to live full time on cruise ships for just 6 months out of the year. I've met people on the ships who they cruise 2 out of the 4 weeks of every month, so they're still doing in 6 months, but every 2 weeks they go back home. They, whatever they do, water their plants, see their loved ones, whatever they do, and then they go right back on ships again. So whatever tickles your fancy, whatever your happy place is, hopefully this gives you some guidance on that. Now, how do I afford living full-time on cruise ships? Before I was a content creator, I was living on my savings and investments, and I talk all about that in this video right here. But then I took a course called YouTube After 40 with Rob and Allie. And I'll just quickly mention that I made my first video in June of 2024. The channel got monetized in July of 2024. And I got my first payment from YouTube of $333 in August of 2024, which was more than the price to cover this course that I took. And if you are thinking about starting a YouTube channel, or you have one and it's not growing as fast as you like, I can tell you there's no guarantee by taking this course that you will get monetized, or you will get monetized as fast as I did. But the majority of people who have taken this course and have followed the instructions and have a YouTube channel have gotten monetized way quicker than they would have done on their own, and way quicker than most people who make YouTube content. So if that is something that you are interested in, head over to the video description, click the link to join the course, and included there is a community of us creators. Like I mentioned before, I try and go in there at least a couple times a week, not only to ask questions about my own content, but also to help others. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, that's kind of a behind the door way of working with me, since I don't teach how to do YouTube. I do give some pointers over on the membership page, but I don't have a formal class. So if you want to work one-on-one with me, go sign up for YouTube After 40. You don't have to be 40 to sign up. But go and sign up for the class, and when you're in there, go in the community and tag my name, say, hey Linnell, I'm so-and-so, come help me with my channel. And we'll work together that way. As you can see, I now make an average of about $3,500 a month, which more than covers my living expenses of living full-time on cruise ships. I also have affiliate income and other sources of revenue that's not shown here. And as you can see, YouTube is very sporadic. I think the most I made in 1 month was $14,000. That other month there, I think that was right at $11,000 or $12,000. But I make an average of about $3,500 a month with just the YouTube income that covers my expenses. Again, I have other sources of revenue that are not mentioned here. So, can you afford to live full-time on cruise ships? It depends. It depends on what your lifestyle is, what kind of deals you can get for your cruises. I have several videos where I talk about how I get my casino deals, and even a video on how to get cruise deals without using casino deals, and I'll leave a link to some of those in the video description. But you can also browse through the mini playlists that I have on the channel and see if you're interested in seeing any of those videos via the playlist. And if you want to know how much my first year of living full-time on cruise ships, check out this video right here where I walk you through all of my expenses for all of last year and show you how I came up with my budget for this second year of full-time cruising. That is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, that was a lot of information. As usual, if you have any questions, you need any clarity on anything, let's talk about it in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope to see you on the next cruise.